What really happened to Daniel in the lion's den? This is a story that we all know, but most of us have never really thought about. And there are some things in this story that don't make any sense at all if you just read it and don't think about it too much. So let me break it down for you and show you why God actually allowed Daniel to be thrown into the lion's den and how he miraculously survived. Daniel was a man who served the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. He lived during a time when it was illegal to pray to anyone other than the king. So Daniel was so faithful that even though it was against the law, he still prayed 3 times a day towards Jerusalem, which was considered a very naughty thing to do back then. Now one day, King Darius decided that he wanted to set up this huge statue in the middle of the city, and when it was finished, he commanded everyone to bow down and worship it. Of course, Daniel still refused to bow down and instead prayed only to his God. The king heard about this and was furious because no one was greater than the king, and for Daniel to pray to someone else was an act of treason. So he threw Daniel into the lion's den with 4 of its ferocious lions, all hungry and ready to devour their prey. Now, most people would think that Daniel was thrown into the lion's den because he did bow down to the king. But I believe there is more to the story than that. You see, when we look at the previous verses, we see that Daniel was thrown into the lion's den around the evening time. And in the morning, the king came to check if Daniel had survived. And the outcome could have been very different if Daniel had not prayed. If we look at Daniel 6:10, it says, "When Daniel knew that the writing was sealed, he went home to his room. And in the evening, before the sun went down, he opened his window, which was on the roof, and he knelt down on his knees toward Jerusalem and prayed 3 times a day, just as he had done previously." Now, most people read this and they think, well, wow, look at Daniel for praying even while facing death. But again, I believe there is more to the story than that. You see, the Bible says that in the evening, before the sun went down, Daniel opened his window and prayed. And most people think that Daniel prayed that God would save him from the lions. But the fact that he waited until evening to pray tells us something very important. Daniel didn't pray for God to save him from the lions because nighttime is the time when lions hunt. And if the lions were hungry, as the Bible tells us, they would most likely try to devour Daniel as soon as it gets dark. So Daniel didn't pray for God to save him from the lions because he knew that he would be eaten if he did. Instead, I believe that Daniel prayed for God to give him wisdom to overcome whatever trial he would face in the lion's den. And that's exactly what God did. In the morning, the king came to the lion's den to check if Daniel had survived, and Daniel was found with his hands and feet bound by a strong cord. The Bible says that the king was very angry because someone had taken the trouble to feed the lions, and most people assumed that someone was trying to save Daniel. But the more likely scenario is that the lions had already eaten their prey and Daniel was still alive. And when the king saw that Daniel had not been harmed, he ordered for him to be taken out of the lion's den, along with the 4 lions. And when they brought Daniel up, he told the king that his God had sent his angel to shut the mouths of the lions. But the reason why I made this video is to explain to you why God allowed Daniel to be thrown into the lion's den in the first place. And I believe there are two reasons why. The first one is because Daniel trusted God to get him out of the lion's den. And the second reason is because God needed to demonstrate his power over the natural laws of life and death. Friends, we can learn many lessons from this story, but the main lesson is to trust God no matter what. Daniel trusted God to get him out of the lion's den. And even though he faced certain death, he knew that God was able to save him. So trust God today, no matter what you are facing. And remember that He is in control. I hope this made sense, and I hope you understand now why Daniel was thrown into the lion's den. If you like this video, please leave a thumbs up and share it with your friends and family. Also, remember to subscribe so you don't miss out on future videos. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.